Just an introduction to rotator cuff. Our shoulder joint is a ball and socket joint. As you all know, the concept of golf ball, the ball represents the humeral head and the socket represents the tee of the golf ball. The stability of the joint is compromised of its mobility, but still we have some factors like static and dynamic factors which gives the shoulder stability. When we explain the static factors, it is a concavity compression effect by the rotator cuff muscles and the vacuum effect produced by the negative pressure because of the effect of the synovial membrane and the intact labrum. The dynamic factors, when we explain, these are the muscle strength and the proprioception. So in this slide, we can see the rotator cuff muscles. Here, what is the action of rotator cuff? Actually, it gives a medial couple force so that the humeral head is pulled towards the socket and the dynamic muscles like deltoid can act more efficiently. The, the terminology is called as concavity compression effect. So as you all know, the rotator cuff muscles, when we explain, there are 4 rotator cuff muscles. Otherwise, it's called as 6 muscles. The main rotator cuff muscles are supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. These muscles are the main dynamic stabilizers of the shoulder joint. So I just wanted to add the scapulothoracic force couple. It is by the trapezius muscle, the mid trapezius and lower trapezius act against the serratus anterior so that the scapula will be rotated upward during the shoulder elevation. So let us come to our topic of discussion, the rotator cuff muscle injury. What's the mechanism of injury? So it can be repeated overhead activities of extended period or single traumatic incident, or it can be a degenerative tear. Mostly we will see the patients with above 50 years of old with a degenerative injuries. The classification of injury, anatomical classification, sick tear, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor. This makes up majority of rotator cuff injury. It can be associated with subacromial impingement. Mechanism is often a degenerative tear in older patients or a shoulder dislocation in patients with more than 40 years. Subscapularis is rare compared to sixth tear, but still mechanism of injury can be an acute avulsion in younger patients with a hyperabduction or external rotation injury, or it can be an iatrogenic injury due to failure of repair. So Ellman classification of partial thickness rotator cuff tear, when we discuss about the grade 1, less than 25% of thickness or less than 3 millimeter, grade 2, 3 to 6 millimeter, it can be up to 25 to 50% of thickness of tendon, grade 3, more than 6 millimeter or more than 50% of injury of the muscles. So I just wanted to discuss the special test for the rotator cuff. So when the patients come pre-operatively, we'll be able to check. Okay. Supraspinatus, we can test by MD can test. So it isolate only the supraspinatus. Partial, we can identify in partial thickness tear. In partial thickness tear, MD-CAN test can be positive. But whether to differentiate whether it is a full thickness or partial thickness, you can do with full CAN test. When we do the test, like in MD-CAN, we'll ask the patient to lift the shoulder, 30-degree flexion, abduction, and the thumb pointing downwards, and the therapist give resistance on the forearm, and the patient flops down the shoulder with pain or weakness, the test is positive. In full CAN test, the same position will ask the patient to keep the thumb in upward direction and repeat the test. The test is positive, we can identify that it is a full thickness tear, because in full CAN test, we are recruiting some of the deltoid fibers. And after recruiting deltoid fibers, still patient is not able to hold the shoulder in this position. It can be a full thickness tear or supraspinatus. The other test for infraspinatus, as you all know, infraspinatus is a external rotator. So if we give resisted external rotation against resistance of therapist, and the patient complains of, or when you compare with the other side, you can feel the weakness, so the test can be positive. So one more test to confirm, it is an extensor lag sign, where we ask the patient to keep the shoulder at 90-degree abduction and external rotation, and the patient is not able to maintain in external rotation, and the hands pause anteriorly compared to the normal side, the test is positive. There's one more test for infraspinatus, is Hornblower's sign. Here, the patient is taking the hands into abduction, internal rotation, and the patient is taking the shoulder against the gravity to external rotation. This position is actually painful if the patient is having impingement syndrome. So subscapularis test, Bellis press test, or Napoleon sign, as you all know, as the patient to press the hand, the shoulder at the abdomen, and you can keep the hand in between the belly and the patient's hand and see the resistance offered compared to the normal side. In lift-off sign, the patient's hand is taken passively into adduction, internal rotation, and we'll ask the patient to maintain the position. If the patient is not able to maintain it in that internal rotation position and the hands falls back, it is positive.